The Liberland's biggest problem is not Croatia. In this article you will learn what is the nature of the state, the nature of the market, and the biggest problem that Liberland faces today. The intention of the writer is to make questions based on first, the historical data of Liberland, and second, the Austro-libertarian economic theory, with a small dose of opinion. I believe that if these problems are resolved, Liberland will have a great future regardless of its known issues with its neighbor. But first, definitions. The nature of the state, political means, versus the nature of the market, economic means. According to the sociologist and economist named Franz Oppenheimer, there are two opposite ways to get financing. The economic means, it requires productivity, adds wealth, and is characterized by respect for private property, work, and voluntary exchanges in a free market environment. The political means, it does not require productivity, subtracts wealth, and is characterized by the denial of private property, fraud, coercion, and theft. The state, the political means, serving himself. As you can see, the states use a second way the political means to finance their activities. In this way, state representatives do not need to serve or please anyone other than themselves, because their economic return is independent of their performance as a consumer server. Once your financing is secured, why place special efforts to improve something? For the reason that state production culminates in a brutal fall in production quality of what the state wants to produce, there are no reasons to be concerned with the efficient allocation of resources or with the quality of the product in the same way that a private institution cares. If it wishes to finance and prosper depends on the efficient allocation of resources and voluntary interactions through exchanges that occur without a weapon pointed at the heads of consumers. How does an organization like the state get resources by denying private property, fraud, coercion, and theft? What are the true attributes that allow to acquire financing through non-contractual or spontaneous methods? What defines the state? That organization in society which attempts to maintain a monopoly of the use of force and violence in a given territorial area. In particular, it is the only organization in society that obtains its revenue not by voluntary contribution or payment for services rendered, but by coercion. The state, according to Rosberg, has two fundamental properties: the use of violence and territory. Indeed, not only is the state made up of a body of people who claim the right to use coercive violence, but their claim to violence is more typically endemic to the territory over which they rule. We can conclude that, by not having to respond to the market, they do not have to be efficient in their activities, nor solve the problems they propose to solve, because they do not meet the demands of the market but only serve themselves. A state logic monetizes the problem by perpetuating the problem, so they have incentives the problem persists to justify their expenses. In state or political logic, the only objective is the illusion of improvement and stay in power whatever the cost. The market, the economic means, serving the consumer. Throughout evolution, as a species, the human being learned to avoid wild methods, political means, to obtain scarce resources, instead of A, being able to barely acquire resources in violation of the property rights of B. The human being learned to immensely multiply the resources through the harmonious and peaceful process of production and voluntary exchanges, which occur when the two sides see mutual benefits that the economic sense in what the other has to offer, so in this way a voluntary exchange can be formalized. While other individuals or institutions obtain their income by production of goods and services and by the peaceful and voluntary sale of these goods and services to others, The market economy is a social system of the division of labor under private ownership of the means of production. Everybody acts on his own behalf, but everybody's action aims at the satisfaction of other people's needs as well as at the satisfaction of his own. Everybody in acting service his fellow citizens. Everybody, on the other hand, is served by his fellow citizens. Everybody is both a means and an end in himself, an ultimate end for himself, and a means to other people in their endeavors to attain their own ends. The real bosses in the capitalist system of market economy are the consumers. They, by the buying and by the abstention for buying, decide who should own the capital and run the plants. They determine what should be produced and in what quantity and quality. Their attitudes result either in profit or in loss for the enterpriser. They make poor men rich and rich men poor. They are no easy bosses. The capitalistic social order, therefore, is an economic democracy in the strictest sense of the word. In the last analysis, all decisions are dependent on the will of the people as consumers. Thus, whenever there is a conflict between the consumers' views and those of the business managers, market pressures assure that the views of the consumers win out eventually. The capitalist system of production is an economic democracy in which every penny gives a right to vote. The consumers are the sovereign people. The capitalists, the entrepreneurs, and the farmers are the people's mandatories. If they do not obey, if they fail to produce at the lowest possible cost what the consumers are asking for, they lose their office. Their task is service to the consumer. Profit and loss are the instrument by means of which the consumers keep a tight rein on all business activities. The market economy, capitalism, is a social system of consumer supremacy. The issue is always the same, the government or the market. There is no third solution. The market process is a daily repeated plebiscite, and it ejects inevitably from the ranks of profitable people those who do not employ the property according to the orders given by the public. We can conclude that market logic monetizes the problem by solving the problem. Being market-dependent, we have incentives to respond correctly to the market because otherwise the market expels you. The customer is the boss and they are always right. Now that we understand the antagonistic concept between the political means and the economic means, let's identify if Liberland is a state or a private institution. Let's define Liberland. Is Liberland a state today? Liberland does not have complete control over a certain territorial area to exercise a monopoly on the use of force and violence. Liberland does not earn its income from coercion but from voluntary contributions. We can conclude that Liberland is not a state today. But can Liberland be a state in the future? Everyone knows that Liberland is proud to announce that it will not be financed through taxes, but through voluntary contributions. That is, if the theory is put into practice, Liberland will not obtain its income through the political means, but through the economic means. You will be saying, okay, but what about the territory and the monopoly of the use of force? The territorial area where Liberland is located does not belong to any legitimate owner. In this way, it could be justified through the homestead principle method. Liberland, by democrating its territory, can legitimately appropriate these lands, moving from no man's land to be privately owned by the private government of Liberland. Upon completion of the appropriation, Liberland obtains the right of exclusive control over its scarce resource. Consequently, the right to defend its property and expel anyone who does not respect its private rules, as is done in any other property. We can conclude again that Liberland is not a state in practice, not in the theory according to Austro-libertarian definitions. Consequently, Liberland is part happily of private institution, that is of the sector, that if it wishes to prosper, needs to serve seeking constant customer approval to win the economic vote. Part 2. The efficiency of executing its own plans in the administration. Now that we have the concept defined, we can start looking for the problem of Liberland. To do this, we will analyze two factors: the historical chronology recounting the birth of its financial asset, some anti-capitalistic mentality and contradictory statements of its current CEO of Liberland at the time of publication of this article. Based on the following information, I invite you to respond from now. The Jedlicka's vision is directed toward the nature of the market or toward the nature of the state. It views administration efficient or inefficient. In April 2015, Liberland is born and begins to be financed through donation on its website. In January 2017, Liberland announced its financial asset called the Liberland Merit and its ICO for 2017. The Liberland Merits concept has been justified by real-world experience. Liberland Merits as a future digital currency is already getting its value even without any free market convertibility. The transformation to a real digital currency is planned to start during 2017, including a public offering. The year of 2017 elapsed and its asset was not launched, nor its IPO or ICO. December 13, 2017, Liberland announces its ACO for its third anniversary. Liberland is preparing an initial coin offering during its third anniversary, planning to raise as much as $70 million USD. The currency is called Liberland Merit. February 27, 2018, Liberland Finance Minister makes a comment on Telegram saying they would be planning to launch the Liberland token in April 2018. Jen Pakrobek, Liberland token to be launched April this year, right on Liberland's third anniversary. The third anniversary and the year of 2018 elapsed and its asset was not launched nor its ICO. November 30, 2018, Jedlicka announced on Telegram a new date for the launch of his asset and ICO for early 2019. With Jedlicka, ICO is now planned for early 2019 with assistance of DAO stack that will include governance model. March 11, 2019, the market processed Liberland and by the merit of the market, the merit is finally born without a published white paper or an ICO. 5th of April 2019, without published white paper or an ICO, the first trade in the market is made. 9th of April 2019, Liberland announces that its asset is an exchange due to the private initiative of Liberland citizens and supporters. 10th of April 2019, Bitcoin.com announces the Liberland Merit. Liberland's Merit token built on Bitcoin Cash captures $1 million market cap. Bitcoin News. The sovereign microstate known as Liberland has recently minted a new token called Merit and the coin has been News Bitcoin.com. November 29, 2019, Jedlicka announces in Telegram that his new plan is to conclude the governance system before April 2020. With Jedlicka. Hello Brian, as you probably know, we are building governance on blockchain for Liberland. May plan to finish it before April, but all depends on technology development. Until then, these articles are in place. A group member reply: Yoshi, your plan was to finish it in April 2018, just to add a bit of info. We talk back. No Yoshi, work actually started last April. 4th of December 2019, Michael Yates, a representative of Ghostbusters, announces that the development of the DEC governance system will be ready for the first election at the end of 2019. So we are currently halfway through. We expecting to launch the main net for the Liberland, the first version of the deck, towards the end of this year. The very first thing that we will have in December is rudimentary election, and therefore we can have the people who are currently running it now their kind. They took the power for themselves, they weren't elected, so to give them legitimacy, we will hold the first elections, and then the president and the other 12 members of the government can have some real autonomy themselves. Once we've done that, then we start to look really deeply into all the other functions of the government. 18th of January 2020, day of publication of this article. Since January 2017, the ICO has been promised, and to date, after 3 years, it did not materialize. There is no ICO, there is no published white paper, there is no government system, there are no elections. Summarizing. This chronology shows the inefficiency of the Jedlicka administration being unable to execute its own plans, its own dates. Surely people closest to Liberland can give other examples of inefficiencies of this administration. However, for the purpose of this article, the information available on the internet is sufficient. It is interesting to note that the developer of the Liberland governance system declares that they are ready for the first elections. Who but the developer himself knows if the system is ready or not? However, we believe that the system is not ready. Based on this information, I would like to ask some questions. Which one will answer it? Could it be that WIT fears the elections? Could it be that WIT has a desire to delay the launch of the governance system as long as possible in order to delay the election and thus guarantee his current permanence as the CEO of the Liberland for as long as possible? Could elections mean the end of the Jedlicka's era, considering that the election takes place someday? Is it possible that WIT and his friends have enough voting power to vote for themselves, win and manage to continue leading Liberland? Before you respond, I want to share more information.